How to teach your kids about money so they become financially responsible adults. It's never too early to start familiarizing your children with essential money concepts such as investing, borrowing, spending, earning, and saving. Don't treat money as an off limits topic. Make it a fun, enriching, and enlightening subject by having age appropriate chats with your kids. The earlier you start, the better. And the more you discuss money issues in an honest and simple way, the more likely your children will grow up to be comfortable and self sufficient adults who can deal with real world financial challenges. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. How you doing today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. Today, I want to have a conversation around how to teach your children about money so they become financially responsible adults. Number one, start with the distinction between wants and needs. I want you to clearly explain to your child what is a want and what is a need. Very simple. Don't think about don't think about a million ways to explain this. A want, for example, is a need. Let's start with the need. What is a need? We as humans, we need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to clothe ourselves, we have biological needs, right? So for instance, you need to eat. There is a difference between having a $10 meal and wanting to eat caviar, right? So eating caviar will be a want. So you want to spend $100 on food versus spending $10 on food. So you want to explain to a child that when it comes, for instance, to if you want to dress up, if you want to buy clothing, you can buy a normal t-shirt for $5 or $10, or you can invest in a branded t-shirt that will cost you $50 or $100. So that's the difference between a need and a want. So needs are biological. Those are things you cannot do without, and wants are more optional. This is very important. Number two, tell them how things cost. You want to explain this very clearly. So it is okay to be transparent about money and about how much day-to-day things cost. I'm talking about groceries, clothes, and household upkeep. For instance, the gardener who does maintenance for the backyard or front yard, you want to explain this thing to your child. You might say, for instance, honey, we spend about $100 every week on food. We spend $300 on clothes. We spend $100 on household upkeep. The thing here is that you're trying to familiarize your children with money. You want to open up the neurons in their brain that cater to money, that cater to finances, that cater to quantitative analysis. This is very important. You can also pile up all of the bills for the month and have them look at the amount of each one. That's a great one here. So you call them up maybe the last weekend of the month, and around dinner table you just have them sit down and you go over all the bills, and you can ask them to either use a calculator or maybe I'm kind of old school with calculators here, but they can use an app, or they can use their smartphone and calculate the amount of all the bills that the household has, so they have an idea. They have a clear idea of how much it costs to live, to maintain the lifestyle that the family currently has. Number three, start with the fundamentals. Now, Harvard researchers encourage parents to start broadly at the beginning, but once you get into the nitty gritty, you want to go back to the basics. You want to go back to the fundamentals. I'm talking about things like earning, savings, investing, sharing, spending money wisely. You want to emphasize the significance of each stage, the significance of having one's own money, right? So you want to start with earning. And once you earn, you need to save. Once you save, you need to share. In other words, you need to take care of other people if you have the possibilities to do so, right? You can donate a little bit to charity. You need to invest, and you need to invest money wisely. So without money, you can't talk about it. If you don't earn, you can't talk about the rest, right? So you want to first sort of focus on the earning aspect of things. Number four, teach your children how to shop wisely. If you remember earlier, I was talking about spending money wisely. You want to talk about how you want to have healthy shopping manners, healthy shopping habits. Family shopping trips, whether it is for groceries or something else, they're likely to be your kids' first encounter with spending. So they'll see how you make decisions based on what the family needs, right? Maybe they will see that you use the occasional coupon. They'll also realize that you are paying with credit cards, in cash, or with debit cards. So these trips are a great time, a great opportunity to teach your kids lessons about money and the value of product research and comparison shopping, for example, right? So before you buy them their pair of sneakers, trying to tell them, you compare, you go on the internet. Right now, nowadays we have apps that help consumers compare prices. So you can, those price comparison apps, you can use that before even paying. Or sometimes you can just walk away from an item because it's too expensive, and make sure the child understands why you walked away. Tell him or her it is because it is too expensive. We cannot afford that, honey. We're not in that income bracket. So you want to demonstrate to your children how you are able to identify overpriced or shoddy merchandise. For example, you want to show them how to voice a complaint, for instance, when they have a defective product, how to do it politely, right? So those are very important. Number 5, establish good habits. One of the things you want to do here is that it's good to teach your child about the theory of finance, of personal finance, of money, but you want to bring things into practice. You want to make it as practical as possible. So you want to start by implementing a routine, right? So the routine can be, for instance, every 2 weeks you give them an allowance, and then you ask them to save maybe 10% or 20% of that allowance in a bank account that you would have opened for them. You have particular goals when it comes to sharing, saving, investing, spending. So 1 week you can say, listen, this is the saving week. Next week it is the investment week. The week after it is the spending wisely week, and the week after it is the sharing week. Whatever it is, you have to make it in a way that people understand. Your children understand really that through practice you're trying to establish good routine. You're trying to establish best practices so that you can combine the theory with the practice. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I hope you were doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous here. I'm having fun with this conversation around money and children. And I want to, if you love this kind of content, this sort of great content with the clarity and quality of the content, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you can be informed in real time whenever we drop a new show. And we do this every single day, rain or shine. Comment below, share, and like. Number 6, share your children's perspective. It is very important to help them understand the whole notion of money and spending. If they want to buy a pair of sneakers, for example, tell them that they have to work for it. For instance, let's say the pair of sneakers is I don't even buy those, so I have no idea. Let's say they cost $300, and you have to tell them, listen, you can get a job at the local McDonald's and get paid $10 an hour, and if you work 30 hours, you can actually earn enough to buy the sneakers. So they have to start thinking in terms of perspective, in terms of cost, right? So if they see something they want to buy, they have to think about the sacrifice of time, energy, and expertise that should go on from their point of view before they're able to afford that item. Let's say they want to buy a Nintendo here that costs $1,000. At the going rate of $10 an hour, they would have to work 100 hours to be able to gather that much money. So if you're able to change their perspective and bring things down in terms of sacrifice, in terms of hours worked, they'll be better equipped at understanding the mechanisms of personal finance and what it takes to manage money wisely. 7. Remember that kids learn what they live. What I'm trying to say here is that you as the parents, you the dad, you the mother, you the uncle, you the aunt, whoever you are, that figure of authority must express himself or herself in practical terms. Don't tell, show. If you're telling your child, if you want your child to be financially responsible, start by being financially responsible yourself. Don't engage in reckless shopping. Don't engage in unconscious shopping. Don't engage in inappropriate behavior when it comes to finances. And believe me, if you do this, then your children will grow up to be responsible adults, right? So this may sound like common sense, but a lot of parents don't know that. They don't know that they are their children's most influential teachers, right? So if you want to teach your child not to use a credit card, never use one in front of them. So they will understand, use cash or use a debit card, and talk to them, explain to them why you don't want to use plastic. I have nothing against credit cards or debit cards here. I'm just giving you guys context here. Number 8, undo society's brainwashing in them. Now, society has brainwashed all of us, right? We basically watch commercials all year, all day, all week. And basically the American Academy of Pediatrics, for instance, estimates that the average American child sees 40,000 commercials each year. Let me repeat that. 40,000 commercials are seen by the average American child every year. That's a lot of commercials. And those commercials are implanting on our children's brains the need for consumption, the need for purchases. And some of those are just not needs, they are wants. Right? There are things that we don't really need, but there are things that we want based on the lifestyle we want to have. So you have to undo that brainwashing, explaining to them they don't need to buy a 50,000 car. They don't need to buy a $100 or $200 or $300 sneakers. They don't need to buy a $100 shirt, t-shirt. All of those things requires time, but you know what? You have a great advantage here, because they see you, your children see you as a figure of authority, as a thought leader. You have a great reputation with your child. They will listen to you. So use that opportunity, use that leverage to undo society's brainwashing in them. Number 9, start having them save and invest in very early on. It is important to start a conversation around money early, but it's also important to start them saving and investing very early, right? So a child can have a piggy bank, or you can open a small bank account for them. You can have even a trust account where they're able to practice the beautiful exercise of saving, the beautiful exercise of investing. And if you start them early, they can afford all the downs and ups of the financial markets. If the market goes down and your child is 10 years old, chances are he or she has enough time for the market to come back up. So no worries there. As long as you go with the basic stocks, very solid companies, AAA rated companies. I'm talking about the Google of the world, the Facebook, the IBM, the Microsoft, the Walmart, those big companies that aren't going anywhere, that are never going to file for bankruptcy. As soon as you go with those big companies, your child can learn the ins and outs, the subtleties of financial markets and investments. So you want to start them on that path early on. Number 10, encourage your older children to get a job. Right? Encouraging your older children to get a job has multiple benefits. Not only for the child itself, himself or herself, but also his or her siblings. For example, if you encourage an older child to have a job, they're able to practice what you've been teaching them. They're able to earn money. They're able to sacrifice their time. They're able to exchange their time and expertise for money. They're able to learn how to manage their money, how to avoid spending recklessly on certain things that they don't really need, but just want, because of peer pressure or the brainwashing I was talking earlier about, the brainwashing of society, right? So you have the advantage for the older sibling to experience that, but you also have the opportunity to show that older siblings as a role model for his or her brothers and sisters, right? So you have a positive, a virtuous circle, a positive ripple effect, so that the siblings can say, oh wow, big brother is big brother is working fine, big sister is working and making money. I want to do the same thing too. So you kind of have this virtuous circle I was talking about earlier, and this is wonderful. At the family level, it's also great because it alleviates, especially if your family is not in a good financial situation, it alleviates the financial burden temporarily off of the parents. So the child can also, the working child can also contribute to the family's budget, or take care of his or her own expenses. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Q. We're also having a conversation today around how to teach your kids about money so they become financially responsible adults. And I want to continue by saying that don't start too late. When it comes to having the conversation with a child about money, there is no right time to broach the subject. Granted, all kids learn differently, so there's probably isn't one right way to tackle the topic of money. However, it is critical to address it, right? So the earlier you start, the better. Now, is your child a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 12-year-old? Depending upon the age of the child, you want to have an age-appropriate conversation, right? But you want to start it. Don't make any topic off limits here. You want to have a conversation because money is just one topic among many topics that we have to deal with in life. So never wait. Number 12, let the child learn by doing. So what I'm trying to say here is that the child is looking at you. You are the role model. The child is basically learning from you and taking cues from society. Now you want them to practice. For instance, you can open a small account and have them manage that account over 3 months, over 6 months. Of course, because they're a minor, they cannot open a bank account in their own name. But what you do is you open the account in your name as the parents or their guardian, but you're able to give them free reins. Let them take the reins of this account. And for instance, if the whole thing is about investing, then after you shoot them, you let them choose one stock or buy one stock every month. And this could even be in a demo account. A lot of brokerages and online platforms nowadays have demo accounts, so you don't have to risk any real money. You can practice with fictitious money. You can practice with online money, right? So you're able to teach your child by doing stuff. You're showing them how to fish. After talking to them about fishing, now you're giving them the fishing net and allowing them to fish themselves. Number 13, you want to talk about the right and wrong ways to use credit and debit cards. This is an important thing. We live in a society where plastic has asserted its preeminence in our economic affairs, right? For right or wrong, this is not the conversation. The conversation here is that the right or wrong uses of credit or debit cards have real life consequences. Even though the transactions are electronic or online, their impact, their consequences have real life significance. So you want to talk about what a credit card is, what a debit card is. You want to talk about how to conduct purchases in stores, by phone or over the internet, the consequences of identity theft. What is identity theft? Again, you want to model the conversation around the age and the personality of your child, right? You also want to explain to them, for example, that credit cards, for that matter, should be used sparingly, and then practice what you yourself preach. Number 14, teach them about money in a fun way. That's one of my favorite tips here. If you want your child to become financially responsible when it comes to money, you gotta show in a way that captivates his or her attention, right? Children are easily distracted. So it's up to you, based on your child's personality and the rapport you have with your child to find a way to talk about this in a very entertaining way. So he or she is not thinking that, you're talking about something very, very serious, even though it is serious. But to draw their attention, you need to talk it in a way that is easy. So you can teach your kids about personal finance and get to spend quality time with them in the process. And you can do this, for example, through board games, right? You have Monopoly, for example, or Life. Those are two games that I know personally that are very effective at getting kids to think about the best way to manage money and plan whether they should spend or save. Number 15, use allowances as a teaching tool. Now, when it comes to giving children allowances, the best practice is to not pay them for doing chores, right? Chores should be part of normal life. They should be doing this because when they grow up, unless they have millions and millions, they're not going to get cleaning staff. They will be doing some clean up themselves, right? What you want to do when it comes to allowances is that you want to give the allowances as usual, but with a twist. You can reward in innovative thinking. If your child comes with a new and fresh way to cut expenses or to reduce maybe energy, for instance, and reduce utilities, use less water, or gives you something that helps you as a household spend less money, you want to reward that. You want to give him or her a quote unquote bonus, right? So you add that bonus to the allowance. So by doing that, you are rewarding positive behavior. You are giving positive reinforcement. And this is fantastic in the long run because you are asking the child to say, listen, I will reward any innovative suggestion you make. Because in the end, a well-implemented allowance program can mimic many money matters that adults face every day throughout their lives. Because if you really think about it, an allowance for a child is the same thing as a salary for an adult, right? You're getting it every 2 weeks or every week or every month, and you have to manage it. You have to save it. You have to spend it. You have to invest it. You have to share it. All right. I will talk to you another time. This is the end of today's conversation. We're going to quickly wrap up today's show here. How to teach your kids about money so they become financially responsible adults. Number 1, start with the distinction between wants and needs. Tell them how things cost. Start with the fundamentals. Teach them how to shop wisely. Establish good habits. Change their perspective. Remember that kids learn what they live. Undo society's brainwashing in them. Start them saving and investing early. Encourage older kids to get a job. Don't start too late. Let them learn by doing. Talk about the right and wrong ways to use credit and debit cards. Teach them about money in a fun way. Use allowances as a teaching tool. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.